Welcome to Story Punk. I am Scott.
I am Drew.
And I am John.
John,
Again.
were you in our last episode?
I was.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you for camping out for a week.
They haven't let me out.
Backyard.
Well, it's all fenced in, so it was safe for John.
And we
to go
gave
in
him
the
a bucket,
backyard. It was
so
fine.
he was fine.
Thanks for that.
Well, when you were kind enough to come and do our episode last week, which we had a lot of fun doing, Scott had an idea, which is a great idea. He said, "Why don't you ask John if he wants to stick around and bring a movie?" And I said, "That is an excellent idea." So I asked you. You seemed very pleasantly surprised, which I thought was very nice. And you thought about it. And then you sent me a list of about 10 movies and said, "Would we do one of these?" And the movie that you picked, I've wanted to do something on this movie forever. So I was thrilled that you picked it, and we talked about it, and you said, "All right, let's do that one." You also said, and I'll say this.
So Drew's trying to break the record for his intro to Jason X that he went on for 2 minutes before he said the name of the movie.
The movie is directed by Phil Alden Robinson, who did Field of Dreams, and that was one of your suggestions. And you said, "But what
my
else?"
favorite movie.
Yeah, it's an amazing movie. What else
very
can we
good
say
movie.
about it? So if you want, you can talk about that for a few minutes because it's the same director as this movie, which is Sneakers from 1992. I thank you very much for bringing it because I think it's a really great movie. And Scott, would you like to tell us a little bit about what this 33-year-old movie is?
I'm going to tell you, well, yes, first, as we said, it's came out in 1992 and it's directed by Phil Alden Robinson.
You pronounced that very well.
Thank you. I know. I'm trying to pronounce everyone's name well. It's a struggle for me. It stars Robert Redford, Sidney Poitier, Mary McDonnell.
Stars everybody.
Yeah, there's a
full
lot
of
of people in
stars.
there.
River
There's
Phoenix.
Can I give a spoiler casting of James Earl Jones who shows up at the end? But basically, the story is, and I'm going to read this.
Oh boy, these are a real crapshoot.
Here we go. A shady U.S. intelligence agency blackmails a reformed computer hacker and his eccentric team of security experts into stealing a code-breaking black box. During the job, they uncover a bigger conspiracy. Now he and his quote-unquote sneakers must save themselves and the world economy by retrieving the box from their blackmailers.
That is a really convoluted way to say things that are
convoluted,
accurate.
but it's okay.
Convoluted.
But world
I know.
economy?
Yeah, well, I mean, if
oh
they
my God.
crash the world economy, it's kind of the save the world.
Yeah.
So they certainly. I mean, the movie is interesting because they are doing things in this movie that are 100% like this will affect the whole world.
Yes.
But it stays kind of low key, which I think is it's the vibe.
I said, well, this is what I say, that this is a heist movie equivalent of comfort food.
That's
This
fair.
movie. I think there's something very 90s about it in a good way.
I think that's fair.
Like the best part of 90s movies, that's what this movie has.
I think that's a good one. So, John,
The other thing is, I think it's also like a lot of great 90s movies, it's like a mixed genre film.
Sure.
Where it's not quite a heist movie. It's not quite a comedy.
Yeah.
It blends those two
but
really
yeah,
well.
it is suspenseful. It is funny. It is dramatic. It has great characters. It has great actors. It to me, it's a movie. It's not like it's a version of this or an interpretation of that, and then there's nothing wrong with prequels and sequels and things like that. But it's also based on real life things. So why did you pick this movie of all the movies that you thought of? Why did you pick this one? I was thrilled that you did.
Well, I think it was one of those movies. So I have a college freshman and a high school sophomore.
They're his children. He doesn't
My
just
Yes,
children.
he's not.
I
They're
don't
not
have them. I
hostages.
have them in my pocket right now.
when they're not in the basement.
Action figures.
And so, as a dad who loves movies, I really wanted to educate them, right? So, like, I had a whole movie list. I wanted to make sure I hit all the high points. I don't know that I hit every one, but as they were growing up, there was a checklist.
I imagine that's a very satisfying part.
Oh my God!
Oh, it's great.
Now that you say that, I actually want to show my 19-year-old this movie. I didn't even think of that. That's a great movie for to share with your kid.
Yeah, and so having my eldest go off to college, I was like, did I really get it? Like, did I get everything right? We finally, the last movie before he went off to college was Dazed and Confused. I felt like I needed him to reach a certain age before we watched that movie. But like Sneakers was always on that list. I never got to it. And so I think it was kind of on my mind, like subconsciously about that. I remember just adoring this movie when I first saw it.
Yeah.
And I probably had seen it once, maybe twice since 1992. I was a college freshman in 1992.
Yep.
And so I've been thinking about rewatching it, and I think it was just in there in the ether. I mean, I put some other movies on that list that were my favorites, you know.
It's a great list.
But for this one, I don't know, I just put it on there. And then I think I mentioned to you, I like kind of regretted it after the fact. I was like, oh man, is there really enough like zhuzh to this movie to like spend an hour talking about it? And then I watched it again. And Jesus, what a delightful, I can swear on here, right? What a delightful fucking movie.
Can I tell you, actually, it's just funny, is that, so I have friends of mine that do a podcast called Movie Schmovie. They've been doing it since 2011. I just watched, after we discussed this like weeks ago that we were going to do this, and we were going to do Sneakers, or a couple weeks ago. And I was watching one of their like clips online, and they were like, we should revisit Sneakers. I was like, oh no, they're going to think we copied, but like, I think it's just a good movie. So I think that's probably, it speaks to your choice that this is just a movie that speaks probably to a lot of people. I mean, these guys are, you know, close to my age. So I think it's just one of those movies.
You guys would know this better than me. This is like an excellent dad movie, right?
Oh, it's a great dad movie.
Oh, definitely.
I love it.
So
it makes me want to have kids.
What's great about it? It's like funny. So and not that this is. I'm not gonna speak to the quality of the movie, but I just watched my youngest son. As we're starting all the Marvel movies, but he insists on watching them in chronological order that they take place
in the timeline.
In the timeline. So we're on the second one. We're watching Captain Marvel because that one takes place in the 90s.
Oh wow! Okay.
So Captain Marvel's actually it's not bad. It's certainly not. It's like B tier. And but there's a scene where she crashes into a Blockbuster. So I was trying to explain to him what a Blockbuster was. And so anyway, that's funny when you know, it makes me think about. I mean, I get strong 90s vibes from watching this.
Again, like you said, in a good way.
In a good way.
It's not jokes about hairstyles and music and stuff.
Where it's like, oh, rock the vote.
Yeah, it's just good storytelling to me. It's really good storytelling.
I'm sorry, and I didn't mean to cut you off. If you had some
no, not at all. So I think that's why I picked it. You know, I think there's a lot of like universal, interesting themes.
Yes.
This movie could be made today.
Yes.
I think with very few changes.
I think,
and it would I mean, it would never be made today because it would be like one of those, you know, 30, 40, $50 million mid-budget level.
Nobody makes the mid-budget movies.
Nobody makes those anymore.
I guess it would. Is that a Hulu movie? Is that a?
You couldn't get this cast for Hulu dollars.
Oh well, that's true. You certainly could
well,
not.
I mean, the thing about it is, like when it comes to
some of them are dead.
Yeah. But like thematically, some of the things that we're talking about here in this movie is like a big thing is trust. Who can you trust? You can't trust the institutions that you would normally trust, or even some of the people that you would normally trust. Like everybody has an ulterior motive, and not everybody has your best interest at heart. Even the people you might think would, like you know, some of the government agencies they're talking about. There's the line that it's the trailer moment with Timothy Busfield saying, "We're the good guys."
Yeah.
Maybe not so much.
Exactly.
It's the same movie where David Strathairn asks James Earl Jones at the end, and he's giving everybody everything they want. He asks for world peace and love or whatever. And he said,
goodwill among men.
Right, goodwill. And he goes, "We're the United States government. We don't do that sort of thing."
Which is funny because we were talking about the wish granting, and this episode is will air during Hanukkah.
Yes.
So Drew had pointed out that this is a you know, as far as if there's any kind of relation to the holiday, it is the granting of. Well, you say, look, dude, I'm Catholic. You gotta pick me up on this one.
I don't remember.
No, you said he said something really nice, and he doesn't remember. No, you were saying that how about gift giving or. At the end, because of how the end tied into Hanukkah.
Oh well, yeah, they give a lot of gifts at the end. And
yes,
you said something about like gifts for 8 nights for Hanukkah. So yeah, I guess that's fair.
I talked about giving socks, but you know.
Yeah, well let's back up a second because this is a movie. As far as the way it starts telling the story, I love it because you learn who everybody is very quickly.
Yes,
what you see in the movie is You see Robert Redford and Sidney Poitier and Dan Aykroyd and River Phoenix and David Strathairn. They're a team. They're working together. They're breaking into a bank.
It starts before that, Drew.
Yeah, don't forget about the
Oh,
1969.
we'll talk. I'm sorry, you're right. We'll talk.
It starts with a
we'll
title
talk about,
sequence.
We'll talk about the title sequence. It definitely talks with the title sequence. So, but what it does is it introduces the characters as we see them, and they're breaking into a bank, and it turns out that's their job, and they test the security of banks and things like that to see if people can break in. And this is one of those movies. Not only do I remember so many lines, I remember the exact inflection and accent. So when Robert Redford gets paid and he goes, "It's a living," and the woman goes, "And not a very good one."
Yeah.
That always gets me. But that's when we meet grown-up Robert Redford. When we first meet Robert Redford's character, and what turns out, spoilers, so 33 years old, so finish watching it. It turns out to be Ben Kingsley's character. It's two guys who are doing sort of a screwing around prank in 69, I think.
Yeah, 1969.
And it is criminal, and the police arrive, and Robert Redford gets away. And
But they're like Robin Hoods, right?
Yes,
they're
right.
like
Yeah,
stealing from the rich and
they're
giving to the
money
poor.
to the
NAACP.
Black Panther Party
Yeah.
from Richard Nixon's personal bank account.
right, stuff like that. So that also sets up the premise of Robert Redford's character, which is he has been on the run and is living under an assumed identity. And so you already, within the first, not even 10 minutes of the movie, we know everybody that's important. We know why they're there. We know what they're doing. To me, it's so economical.
Yes.
And you don't notice it as what it is, which is exposition.
There's also something, just to mention the title sequence.
Yes, please.
So
do you work in that field?
I do work in that field. If you
We've
watched our
heard.
last episode. No, I mean, look, maybe this is a bit obvious when you watch it, a little bit on the nose, but
We're not above that
when you're
here.
watching that first scene in the bank, the names of the credits are coming in.
Yes.
And it's very simple. It's just, what's called type over scene, right? Just the names in a font coming in, except each letter is coming in individually, which takes time. There's an investment in there. And so the audience is thinking, maybe even subconsciously, like, what is this about? And it does relate to this idea of, decryption, cryptology, letters, almost war games, like, right? Like which is the same writers.
Yes.
Interesting.
No, we'll talk about that
Letters
for sure.
coming in one at a time, solving a code. So right from the start, the title sequence is kind of laying the groundwork for the tone of this movie.
And the movie even has a Scrabble sequence.
Yes.
So literally,
Well,
they're building those things.
Well, I remember distinctly being in the theater seeing this when the Red Fort Barn or whatever came up for the it was the
for Robert Redford's
for
name.
Robert Redford's name. I actually thought that was like I said, is this the production company? Like I was like confused at first. And that I think that was a brilliant way. I mean, it's simple, but it's like it was effective.
Yeah.
And I one of the things I also wanted to say about this movie, I thought this is a real statement, especially looking back now in 2025. It's a real statement on how boomers have evolved over the decades, and it's sort of the they kind of went from they were going to be the generation that changed the world, and they kind of gave that all up for their they kind of bargained away the revolutionary spirit for comfort. And I mean that's sort of what Robert Redford did. I mean his character Martin, his real name Martin Bryce.
Don't tell everyone, he'll get arrested. His name is Martin Bishop,
Hey,
Scott.
look. Hey, Ben Kingsley already did that to Marty.
That's true.
That was love that accent of his.
Yeah, he does have a weird accent in this movie.
Marty.
And
It's not
inexplicably fake
not
New
as
England.
bad.
Yeah.
Not as bad as Forrest Whitaker's in Arrival.
Yeah, that's true. I
In
don't know
the
what
helicopter.
I don't know what that New
I
England
don't know what
accent
that
was
was.
supposed to be.
But yeah, so I do kind of feel like now I don't think people realized it then, but now in this current day and age, it definitely you do see the where the boomers were and where they are now. And it's like, oof, what happened?
It's kind of interesting, actually. I hadn't thought about that, but you're thinking about Marty. I mean, he's kind of a wishy-washy character in a way. Like he's really just getting swept up and pulled into this whole thing. Like you don't really know what he wants. He wants us in this movie, he's the main
except Mary
character.
McDonnell.
But does he? Doesn't.
Yeah, but
he
does he? I don't know.
doesn't.
Yeah,
way.
I agree
He
with
doesn't
you. I
pursue
think-
her. He
That's
doesn't really go after her.
That's fair.
She's just a way of getting out of his problem. But his problem is just to stay hidden. I mean, he even at the beginning, Cosmo is way more into this
true.
Robin Hood thing. Even at the end, it's Cosmo who has to try to persuade him to say, "Hey, we could go back to the way we were. We could help me come on
Cosmo's
board."
He may be doing things a different way, but he's never given up on, I think, their original idea of how they were going to do
Cosmo
it.
was like way more passionate
Yeah.
about getting back to making the world a better place.
It was like going two opposite ends of the spectrum.
But
Like,
he's-
Cosmo went the other way.
Well, that's to me. That's one of the biggest things about that spectrum. He is a true believer.
yes.
There was no way that Martin Bishop was going to convince Cosmo, "Hey, dude, this is too much. This is wrong. Put aside our whole thing where you feel that I abandoned you and you went to prison." And in the same way, there's no way that Cosmo is going to convince Martin Bishop we should do something extreme. So that both makes Robert Redford's character more relatable, because I don't think what Cosmo is doing is a good idea, but also makes him what you said, which is not as decisive. Like, he has a goal, he wants to get away, and then at the very end, he does something very idealistic by taking money from the Republican National Committee and giving it away as a charity, which is what he did in '69, but basically hasn't done for 30 years.
yeah.
I saw someone call Cosmo, he's a well-intentioned extremist.
Yeah.
And I think that's a
Well,
fair.
they kind of all are, unfortunately.
Well, that's I think for me that was a really interesting takeaway theme, was this sort of notion of, are things black and white or are they really shades of gray? And we can get back to it, but just that idea of like, just there's the core scene where we actually come back to seeing that Cosmo was actually alive, right in the midpoint of the movie, and they're in Cosmo's office. Did you notice the production design there?
Just a little.
The portrait. There's a portrait of a man in white and a portrait of a man in black,
Yeah.
right next to one another. But then there's this. A few seconds later, they realize that the mom might be listening or somebody might be listening, so they go into this like zone of truth, the zone of silence, right?
Right.
Like Cosmo's special private office. And when they're in there, they can really be more honest with one another. And the portrait behind them is really a silhouette. It's a mortise. So it's really just this idea that when the truth can really happen, that truth is really in shades of gray and muddy, and it's not really one or the other. I love that scene.
I remember, this is the first time I ever remember the concept, because I mean, if it's 92, so I'm like 20, 21, and this is the first time I remember the concept sort of being presented that perception is reality. If you tell people certain things and if they believe it, then you tell somebody a bank's not stable.
Right, that's the example.
That's enough to make a bank not
To topple
be
it,
stable.
yeah.
And so that's I remember that, and it's something that stuck with me forever, because I feel like as time has gone on, that idea has become more true than ever, especially now in this day and age of the type of media that we have.
Well, also
and,
the way
and AI
Sorry,
too,
go
ahead.
right? It's like what's real. Like all the stuff we're looking at online on our feeds. It's like it's pure lies, pure propaganda, fake
Sure.
imagery, fake
which
mouths.
people welcome, which is the craziest part, because it's not just saying believe this. The propaganda that's out there is saying you already believe this and confirming how right you are. And that there are things in this movie that if you had asked me, is this in the movie as far as a subject, I would have said sure. But it's insanely relevant and current and in a really satisfying and also upsetting way. And what you said, I was thinking about this when I was watching the movie. Do you guys know what a skiff is?
Yeah, that's the secure. What's it?
I'm looking at it, so I'll
a-
just say it's a sensitive compartmented
Exactly.
information facility. So it's essentially, usually you'd think of it in an intelligence way. We go into this room at our office at the CIA. It's a skiff, so you have to leave your cell phones outside, and it's cut off from everything, all this kind of stuff.
Drew does
That
not
is-
work for the CIA.
I do not, or maybe I do. There is a recurring imagery in the movie, which is a skiff, except the skiffs are either based on a lie. Like at one point, the two NSA agents that aren't really NSA agents that work for Ben Kingsley, they bring Robert Redford into what's essentially a conference room. It's in Robert Redford's own office.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And so that it has the imagery of we're going into a private room, but it's not private, and the two guys that are protecting secrets are complete liars.
Yeah.
And then we have that scene where Ben Kingsley, it's if you just watch the scene, it looks like, well, they walked into a room and they sat down and he said some shit and then they walked out. But the subject of the substance of their conversation doesn't change. And what is important doesn't change. And of course, Cosmo's whole thing is that there are too many secrets. We're going to break all the codes for his specific goal, which is to crash the whole system, which he says explicitly. But the idea that there is nothing secret in this movie is played out physically like that in the production design, which is so 90s. It kind of cracks me up. But I just, the movie works on so many different levels at once that you don't notice it as complex. And of course, when you think of things like cryptography, like that's a thing anybody would think about is, well, yeah, of course it's complex. Of course it's computers. Of course it's machines. And apparently, the way that not so much the box that can break everything, but the way that that they portray how these guys work, the phone freaking and all this kind of stuff is very authentic. And as you said, it's the same guys that wrote War Games, and I believe that they came up with an idea for let's do a movie about phone freakers because they had that sort of thing in War Games.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting that it is very realistic without being. It's not doing that thing which movies do, which is fine, which is we're going to actually show you what it's really like to be a hacker. It's not doing that.
No.
Then the movie Hackers is not realistic, but it's giving you all this stuff all at the same time. And the imagery of the skiff, I don't remember noticing that before because I saw it in the theater in 1992 when I was 16. I've maybe sat down and watched the whole movie a few times since then, but I hadn't watched it in years till I watched it for this. And I don't know if that kind of stuff jumps out at me because now I'm 49 and I'm familiar with that as much as the world hasn't changed that much at all, which is really... The movie is in some ways incredibly entertainingly unsettling. Yeah. And that's why I enjoyed coming back to it.
I loved how just to riff off that, it's like that for an apparent high tech kind of story, it's a very low tech. Mm-hmm. Like the story beats are very low tech, right? Like nobody's really winning the war here or even individual battles by doing anything high tech, right? It's like
that's why the Scrabble thing works.
The Scrabble thing,
yeah.
they get into the building with a box of Drano, right?
Yep.
They don't have to solve the keypad problem next to the door. They just kick it in.
That is one of my favorite scenes because it does exactly what you're saying. It's also really funny.
It's so funny.
It's simple.
They get to
the pocket fisherman.
The pocket fisherman. They get through to the Tobolowsky character. They don't have to do anything. They just sort of act and improvise and
they
persuade
literally hand
him.
his card out the window.
Exactly.
Type of thing. Yep.
Even Whistler, who's the most high tech and maybe even the main character of this movie.
Oh, I want to hear more about that, please. Yeah.
Even Whistler, who is like the most high tech of all of them, there's that scene where he's not really using any high tech gear at all. He's just listening to the frequencies of the different wavelengths of light in the office, right? And just sort of using his real world skills.
And that's literally how they find out, okay, here's where we're going.
Exactly.
The movie doesn't move forward without that. That's a really good point. That's a really good point.
And I also found out a very important piece of information from Whistler is that Playboy was apparently printed in Braille.
I'm sure it was. This cast, though.
Let's talk about who actually made this movie, this wonderful movie.
The cast? Or
go for it. Yeah, the people that came together for this, it's amazing.
Oh, yeah, it is amazing. Let's see. So it's Phil Alden Robinson was the director. Quick aside about Phil. I actually met Phil. So I was at USC in film school.
Okay.
And my third year, I was taking a directing class. The teacher was Rowdy Harrington, who's another director, directed what were they? Roadhouse.
Yep.
It was really like sort of his
an name. American classic.
And Rowdy was a fantastic instructor. Most of his instruction came in the form of just telling us amazing stories about Bruce Willis and all the people he'd worked with and everything. And he was such a great storyteller. And he would bring incredible guests. And one of the guests he brought to our class was Phil Alden Robinson. And so after class, I was just this kind of kid. I chased Phil down. I followed him to his car. And I just approached him in the parking lot.
Nice.
And I explained to him that I was a couple months away from shooting my senior project, my thesis film. And I was looking for industry mentors, and would he consider mentoring me? Because
Nice.
he was one of my favorite directors. Field of Dreams was one of my favorite, was probably my favorite movie, was what I said to him. And he was like, I'm working on some projects. I'm a little too busy, but I would be happy to watch your film and give you some notes.
That's pretty awesome.
And he did. I sent him a DVD, a year and a half later. He was absolutely loved. Actually, he read the script, gave me some notes on the script, watched the film, gave me some notes on the film.
Were the notes any
And
good?
then,
Did they help?
very
you?
good. And then afterwards, he sent me, it's still on my fridge. He sent me this very nice handwritten note and sort of complimented me on the film. One of the nicest guys.
I was going to say, I'm very interested in the industry just in general, but I like when somebody says, here's somebody you've heard of who's done incredible work, and they're not a dick.
And they're also
Like,
nice.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah,
that's
he
great.
was wonderful. And then the other two members of the writing team were Lawrence Lasker and Walter F. Parks.
Yep.
You already mentioned that they had.
Well, yeah, they wrote
teamed
War
up on War
Games,
Games.
which is another excellent movie, and also about basically kind of regular people getting way over their head with technology. In that case, maybe starting a nuclear war, which I think the movie has the right attitude that that's bad. But I think that one of the things that caught me when I first saw this movie is it felt like everybody was in it. Like Robert Redford and Sidney Poitier and Dan Aykroyd and River Phoenix.
The cast is absurdly good.
It's absolutely crazy, and I don't know if that's a tribute to the casting people who obviously did a great job. Is that a tribute to honestly, did they all love Field of Dreams and they thought it would be kind of cool because Robert Redford did The Natural, which is one of the great baseball movies, and Phil Alden Robinson, I learned recently, very nice guy. So they might want to work with him.
Work with him again.
But I think what really is satisfying is that the way that they are, especially Redford, the way that they are movie stars in this movie is very low key.
Mm-hmm.
Because that scene that you mentioned where if you haven't seen the movie, they're trying to break into an office and they discover Robert Redford has gone in to break in and he's discovered that there is a keypad on the door, not a lock. And so Sidney Poitier and Dan Aykroyd are on his earpiece telling him what to do. And it's a lot of, all right, I guess I'll try it. And then he kicks in the door. So it's very funny. But I remember watching his face when he's selling that to you. It's like, this guy he's the movies. He is just so natural and so real because he doesn't feel like what he is, which is a legend. He feels like this guy who's listening to his friends, and then something silly happens. And so all these people, and some of them became quite big, and River Phoenix we lost, I think, a year later. He died. And so there's so much star power that feels like it's serving the movie. And I feel like everybody liked the script. Like, I don't think there's anybody in this movie to do a mortgage payment. And they should like the script because it's so good.
Yeah, they all have this kind of just ease about them. But Redford especially, I saw an interview with the writers where they were talking about how, because they wrote this script over 10 years, apparently. It took them that long. Because they were working on other things, and they kept coming back to it. And then one project turned into another. And they were saying that as they wrote the script, that the character of Bishop always stayed at their same age. So when they started writing the script, he was 30 and then he was 40.
Oh, interesting.
And then I think Phil was saying in one interview that an agent had told him, "Oh, Redford's interested in your script," and he was like, "Which one?" He's like, "Sneakers." He's like, "Oh, no. He's not right for this part." And then he went back that night apparently and reread the script, picturing Redford in it, and he was like, "Oh, this is absolutely perfect. I couldn't think of anybody better."
I believe that, absolutely.
But there's something about him at this particular age where he just seems so sort of comfortable in his own skin. You know what I mean? He really, it's a very subtle performance in this.
Well, and also, he is at that moment where there's a new generation of us. I wasn't old enough to know Robert Redford from when Butch Cassidy came out and things like that. So this movie was an introduction to me of people like Sidney Poitier and people like Robert Redford. And look, the guy from Ghostbusters is still in this movie and he's really good. And it's an interesting And then of course River Phoenix is a little bit older than me, and he's this huge up and coming star. And so the way it mixes the generations, both as far as who's making the movie, who's in the movie, and then the story itself. Because again, River Phoenix's character is probably, what is he, 19 they say, or something.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't know anything about the world that Martin Bryce escaped and became Martin Bishop, that they were doing pranks and they were doing all those kind of things. And I think it's again another thing in the movie that it does really, really well that you don't think about it doing. Like, I didn't think about any of the stuff that we're talking about as far as how the movie works when I first saw it, because it just works so well.
Yeah,
it just works so well.
It really cooks right from the beginning.
And also, one of the things that is interesting in this movie is that these characters are all basically losers, because when you find out who they are, they get introduced. This one's a criminal who lost his job. This one's a criminal who did this time. This guy's a CIA agent, but he's disgraced. I can't tell you, but I'm an escaped, I'm on the run.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fugitive, all that kind of stuff. And that makes them more endearing, because whether Cosmo has these terrible ideas or not, he's got a lot of money and success, and it's pretty clear he owns the building and all that kind of stuff. That doesn't make him more sympathetic because he's successful. You learned right at the beginning of the movie, these guys don't make a lot of money doing it. Now, somehow they got like the coolest loft set up in San Francisco. I don't know what that's about.
Right. What would that be worth now?
That would be pretty crazy. But the tone of it is so in sync with the characters. It's really kind of amazing.
One of the things that I'd like to talk about too is the was the score, James Horner's score.
Oh yeah.
Was it Branford Marsalis, I believe?
Yep.
And the I think with a lot of movies that feature tech, there is I feel like the decision to go with more orchestral and even some jazz type sound was a really good sort of a choice that was sort of against expectations. They didn't try to go for any kind of heavy keyboard kind of or techno type. Not that they would necessarily use techno in a type, but electronic based type music.
Yeah, not the music of the era.
Yeah, so
it's a timeless score, I think.
Yeah, and I love just the way the score was put together. I love, and they said James Horner was a lot of his music that he did after this. You start to see sort of this was sort of him sort of starting to come into his own as a composer for movies. One of the things that I love the sound, the music, the way it sounds during the scene where they first start using when Whistler is fiddling around with the code breaker, and it's just built the
So
tension.
at the same time they're doing the Scrabble, that scene?
Yes. That whole scene with all the tensions building. It almost reminded me a little bit of One Battle After Another. That crashing piano crazy discordant.
Good catch, yeah.
Yeah, and it was very, and it gets to the point where he's finally just I think it's Sidney Poitier. He's shut it off, shut it, because you could tell they've gone in way too deep. They're able to get into. It's 4 different things. They're getting into the Federal Reserve. They're able to get
power
into
grid,
the national power grid,
yeah.
The part of the FAA, and they make some joke about you want to crash a plane, and he's shut it off, and it's but the music really helps sell that whole scene, and I just think it was such a brilliant choice to go with that type of sound as opposed to doing something that late 80s, early 90s had a lot of forgettable type music. It was just kind of electronic garbage, and this was just really kind of I feel really kind of really worked for this movie.
I love Horner's one of my favorite composers, but he does do this thing. It's almost the same chord.
Mm-hmm.
He's got that one dissonant chord that, between this movie, it's this expectant, slightly dissonant, slightly minor. I don't know my music theory enough to say what it is, but the same chord you hear in Searching for Bobby Fischer, the same chord you hear in The Karate Kid.
Was it Apollo 13?
Apollo 13.
Yeah, I think he did that, yeah.
It's this, something is going to happen. A storm is brewing, wonderful. It's
Well,
a
that's
wonderful
I
score.
mean that's one of those things. You if you're into film music, which I think we all are, you could play me a piece of music, and I would say
Tell you
that's
where it's
either
from.
by this person
Yeah.
or somebody who's, whether they realize it or not, really imitating this person. And a lot of these composers, especially if they have a long career, and James Horner, composed music for several decades for some gigantic movies. I don't think it's about, I already did this movie, I'll just reuse it. It's just, this is how they write music, that kind of thing. And the fact that he did it with Branford Marsalis, it gave it an interesting wrinkle, because
Yes.
it's still definitely James Horner. Like one of my favorite music cues of all movies. There's a scene where they're gonna hand off the code breaking box, to the NSA guys that aren't NSA guys, and the piece is actually called The Handoff. And so it's got this very suspenseful percussive music. It ends up with them jumping in the car, and Sidney Poitier and Robert Redford go away, and they go, well, those guys aren't NSA. I don't know what's going on. The person who made the boxes was murdered, blah, 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 blah. We're going to go to the office that Robert Redford went to see them. And the music becomes suddenly very beautiful and very much like that is why Branford Marsalis is on the soundtrack. And it's one piece of music, 3 minutes or something, and it is one of the most James Hornery things ever, but it's also so specific to the movie. I mean, it's great for the scene; it does its job in the movie.
Was it very James Horny?
It was very James Horny, yes. If you were all horned up for it, and also, of course, it ends with another one of the lines that I love of Robert Redford saying it. They see the building that he was in is being torn down, and he goes, "My God." And it's just like, that's a huge movie star, and he has the same reaction you would have. It's just, you don't even know what to think.
They tore down my house.
Right, and then the homeless guy comes in and is complaining. So yeah, this is a score. Even, I mean, I've seen the movie, sat down and watched the movie a few times in the past 33 years since it came out, but I've listened to that score way more than that. That's a great score. It's one of my favorite Horner scores, and it's one of my favorite scores. So another example of this movie firing on all cylinders.
Yes. It was, and to kind of go back to the story, it's one of those. The thing about this movie, it's just, I feel like everything is just the right amount. It's like the perfectly made like dessert, cake, whatever meal, because everything is, I feel like, is just right. Like, there's no huge twist. There's a little bit of the Ben Kingsley character. It's like, you may or may not have saw that coming. It's hard for me to get back into my 1992 brain to say, did I see that coming? That it was, I probably did. I don't think it's a huge twist that it ended up being the person behind it all.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Was Cosmo.
I forgot about his character because they said he died in prison.
Yeah, and so
I
maybe,
just didn't think about it.
But it's not a huge twist though. You know what I mean?
No, when it's one of those twists, you're like, oh, that makes sense.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. It's one of those
That
types
makes
of twists.
sense.
So it was like everything, like, but I feel like it's just like, I feel like if someone was teaching a screenwriting class, like, this would be a good example of a script. Like, you should read this script.
Oh my God, yeah.
Because I just feel like it just hits all the right beats. Sometimes
Apart from the fact that the main character doesn't want anything.
That's true.
That's still a hang up for
point.
me, but I interrupted you.
Well, we
Yeah.
also will have to talk about who the main character is. You have your own theories about that.
Oh, that's true. Well, why don't you go ahead? Tell us what your theory
I don't
is.
think he's the main character.
No, I mean,
but
He is probably the most memorable character for sure.
He is definitely
he has
the most
the best dance moves.
He's the most impactful. He's the most impactful character.
Yes.
Okay. That's fair. I mean, if you had something, we're not above going with a wild theory here. Just like I don't agree with Drew's theory on the ending of Heretic, but that's okay.
Well, it's like, so people,
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying I just don't agree with that.
Well,
take.
people will say things like, "Well, if you watch Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones didn't do anything. He has not. If he he didn't affect anything."
I actually
blah, blah,
did
blah.
a presentation about Raiders of the Lost Ark in a film history class, and I had somebody say that. They go, "Well, Indiana Jones didn't do anything," and so I just gave him 2 middle fingers and sat down. No, I didn't.
But I mean, the thing is, let's say I don't think that's true, but let's say it was true. I don't care.
Yeah,
Because
really,
it's Indiana Jones.
That's true.
Like, that character grabbed me, and so I do. I mean, I do think that
Hey, these Nazis aren't going to kick their own ass.
That's right. I mean, Martin Bishop does want something, which is don't find me. That's his big goal, which is not as
But it's a negative.
It's a negative, but it's
And he's also doing what leading men often do, which is to sort of be there as the canvas,
right to
that
be
the
for us.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and to look pretty.
in a way that's another part of why it's a textbook thing. And Robert Redford is very pretty. I will definitely.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Whistler.
Mm-hmm.
Whistler is the one who figures out that the black box is on Gunter's desk.
Yeah.
None of the rest of them know.
And he can't see it.
He's the one who figures out what the black box even does while everybody else is talking.
Again, another fantastic shot when he hits that right spot, and you're looking in his big.
You're looking at his glasses,
and and he goes, "Oh,
go back one."
Just amazing.
He's the one who figures out when they're at the dead end. Whistler's the one who figures out where Bishop was taken to by listening.
The sound of the road and the cocktail party.
And what a great, amazing use of sound design in the
yes,
movie, right?
Oh yeah.
And then there's that match cut where he uses the synthesizer to recreate the seams in the, and then it just smoothly flows in. And he's the one who drives to save Bishop at the end.
That's how I was going to bring that up.
One of the most delightful
scenes
at the end. It's just so gratifying to see this, person purportedly handicapped,
right,
but is so effective and able-bodied and able-brained and is just able to.
But also he sells it like I think a person in that situation would. He's like, I need to do this. I need to save my friends, but I can't do this. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But he does it, and at the end he looks exhausted, and he's like, I don't need to do that anymore. But it's I don't know. It's another. It feels very real. His character. I think he's more of a central character. I don't know about the main character, but I think he's more of a central character than people give him credit for. Because I remember when I saw the movie for the first time, I remembered his scenes the most.
Yeah, speaking of, you were talking about the sound design. That one of the things I had read was that it was very intentional to make all the technology sound very real because they didn't have any of the, a lot of the beeps and boops that you hear a lot of times in the background in movies. That
like the movie version of computers.
Some approximation of what technology should sound like, and they took a lot of care. The supervising sound editor was Milton C. Burrow, and he had apparently 25 people on his team making all the sounds, creating this audio landscape of clicks and whirs and everything to make it sound real, and I think it pays off because I think it does sound real. There's no you don't hear a lot of the you don't hear any of the like the Star Trek weird kind of not to disparage Star Trek. I don't want any Trekkies.
Please don't do that.
No, I would never disparage Star Trek, but I'm saying that's a different type of show.
Even the way they solve the voice is my passport.
Yes,
kind of gatekeep. They get the recording, they cut up the recording. You see them literally splicing the recording together into a tape recorder.
Yeah. I love he plays it too fast at the beginning. Yeah, that's great.
I will cut in with a real nerdy thing right now, which is I love physical media. I love watching movies on disc because it looks the best and it's the uncompressed sound, blah, blah, blah. The sound is really my thing, and Sneakers just recently came out as a 4K disc from Kino Lorber. It has a 2-channel mix and a surround 5.1 channel mix. And the things that you're talking about, I don't know why I'm pointing at you, no one can see, that you're talking about with the way the sound works in the movie.
Pointing.
It's so gratifying in the film because it really does remind me of being in the theater, and it's almost always the Whistler scenes. So when they go and you hear the cocktail party before you see what it is, which is a flock of geese, but you hear it in the surrounds. Yeah. And we're going to make you an honorary blind person, and then you cut to what it is. It's so satisfying. So if people really like this movie, I recommend that they pick it up on disc. I'm sure it's fine streaming, and it says a surround mix, but it's really special because it's not a movie with big battles and jets flying by and all this stuff. Which, don't get me wrong, Godzilla movies are awesome, but it's a really fun way to do. To set the sound sets the tone that this feels very real, and it's about things that are cool without being cool. Like there's spies in this, and the cultural attaché at the Russian embassy and stuff like that. But it's not that kind of movie. The people who are doing the secret stuff, the spies in the movie are like the NSA agents that aren't spies, and our main characters are just kind of. Some of them are kind of dorky, like River Phoenix, the hot young actor, is playing a kind of a little goober, and it's just I don't know, it's very charming.
I think, and to get back to what you're saying about the sound, I think that the details in the low sound are they're just amazing. It's like, and I know a lot of people, this will be lost on a lot of people, but for those that appreciate that sort of thing, this is a real treat.
What are some comps? Like, can you think of like what some in the last 2 to 4 years? What kind of hits the same way with this? I mean, I suppose the Oceans kind of.
Yep,
Which
it's much more
owes
clever in
a
some ways.
lot to
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah, I mean, I think this sort of takes from, if we were going to go back a little bit, this is sort of like the Dirty Dozen.
Dirty Dozen.
Yeah, I mean that's where you get the. I mean, I don't know if you want to say. I wouldn't say it hits the same way. I was going to say Inglourious Bastards, but no, it doesn't really hit the same way.
It definitely hits, though.
Well,
It's funny. It's funny that you talk about what movies does it relate to, because some of my movies that, like one that I watched growing up and then one that I just saw that we did an episode on, are both about people who are ideologues, idealist young people running from their crimes for the next 20 years. And I saw an interview with Paul Thomas Anderson, the director of One Battle After Another, and he talked about movies that were. He did it for Turner Classic Movies channel. It's actually great interviews. He talks about the specific movies that inspired him, and I like the way he talks about it, because he's not saying like I ripped it off or I'm paying an homage. He's just like, this is what was in my head. This is what shaped me. One of them is Running on Empty, which is another River Phoenix movie with Judd Hirsch and Christine Lottie. And it's about a family that's been on the run since they blew up a lab at a college or something and accidentally killed a janitor or something. And so there's a direct relation to the direct connection to One Battle After Another being about a guy who's running and his kid, and how do you give your kids a normal life and all that kind of stuff. Also, as an aside, it has Stephen Hill, who plays Adam Schiff in the first seasons of Law and Order. And there's a scene, he plays Christine Lottie's dad, and there's a scene in that movie that is the best scene I've ever seen him in. It's just like stunning and very moving. But the fact that Running on Empty is from 87 or something, Sidney Lumet movie, and One Battle After Another is this year, it's very relatable. And that has nothing to do with the heist part of it, because both of those movies, there's definitely there's codes, and there's rituals we have to do to escape and to stay away from everything and all that kind of stuff. And I think if they did this movie today with the way computer technology is today, I don't know how you would do it that isn't everybody already knows that. Whether they've seen it in movies for 20 years or it's how their phone works.
It certainly would be a lot less physical, because there is a lot of, I think it would be a lot of people in like a room. There'd be somebody in a room orchestrating things that I don't think you would have as much. I mean, you might have like one guy on the ground, where in this one they have multiple guys on the ground. You have somebody, under the street doing stuff, and you have somebody else. There was a lot of stuff, physical stuff that needed to be done in addition to the computer stuff.
Yeah, like you can your successful disguise is you break into a building by dressing like a maintenance guy, and then you fool them because your partner's dressing like a maintenance guy outside, and they believe it. That's not a fancy computer gimmick or anything. That's literally it's like a magic trick, playing with people's perceptions.
Yeah, and so you wouldn't have to do so much of this stuff would. I mean that's. I guess it's just the way the world is, technology. But I think, it's a little different with your typical heist movie, where you actually have to get something physical. I mean, they do at the end. You are getting something physical. You have to get that black box. But I just feel like a lot of it, there's a lot of things that happen in this movie that would ultimately could be just someone at a computer. The guy in the chair, right? Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
The guy in the chair.
The guy in the chair. Do you think there are other movies, John, that are related to this movie?
I'm trying to think now.
I think Oceans comes to mind.
Yeah,
because we're three guys who love movies, and there isn't really anything that jumps out as on a lot of different levels, because this movie's tone and the cast and the story and the way it's told, and it's people don't think of it as the movie that I'm about to say, but it is a perfect kind of movie. I don't think there's such a thing as a perfect movie, but it's a movie that says, here's what we are. You don't see it that often, and we're going to do it really well. And that's why it's so satisfying.
I mean, more TV comes to mind, like Mr. Robot, Alias, Black Mirror a little bit.
Some Severance.
Yeah.
Yep. I buy that. I think that makes sense. Well, I want to talk about the most important part of the story, I think, for a movie, especially if you want to tell somebody, I saw this movie because I saw the trailer and I like the trailer, and then I saw the movie and I like the credits, and then I want you to go see it. This movie does one of the hardest things to do for a movie. It doesn't just end well. It's a killer ending. It's one of my favorite movie endings, and it's just
very
people,
tidy.
but it's just people talking in a room.
But it's nice.
It's just James Earl Jones, identifying himself accurately as the NSA with a bunch of people with guns, and you give me the box and I'll let you go, and then let's start making a deal. And it's very funny and it's very sweet. And River Phoenix asking for the girl's phone number is very funny.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many movies you think of where you you fly out of the theater because the ending is so good, like Iron Giant, like that level. And this is another low key version of that.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, but I think what makes it extra good is that little button at the end where it's well, just the idea that they were able to sort of, quote unquote, kind of break the box.
Right, they crippled the box.
They crippled the box.
Yep.
Yeah.
But those little news stories at the end, they're still able to do it.
Yep.
So they got their cake and they can eat it too, right?
And that's also one of the scenes where it's very, you could say prescient, but I can't remember which character. Maybe it's Marty says, or sorry, Maddie says, the Russian codes are different. This won't help you do that. The only thing this is good for is spying on the American people. And I was like, oh, well, we know they do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's in my lifetime
Shocker.
as an adult in the news for the past 15 years or something like that. But the idea that that also doesn't matter. It's not like he says that to James Earl Jones and James Earl Jones says, oh my God, you have to kill him. It's a secret. Like, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. So for him to cripple it and then do some Robin Hood stuff finally for real, like you're saying, it's very satisfying.
But also like doing the Robin Hood stuff, it's like Cosmo finally got through to him.
Oh, that's a good point.
In a way, like he was ready to let go of that life.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't seem particularly distraught that he couldn't like save the NAACP.
Yep.
It was Cosmo who wanted to be able to get back to that. But at the end,
That's a great point.
Somehow he came back to it. Now he's re-embraced. He's Robin Hood again. He's taken up the charge.
Well, because he also, the end of the movie isn't Cosmo's in prison. Cosmo gets killed. Cosmo gets arrested. There's none of that. It's just two old friends facing off. One of them saying, I'm going to leave now. You're going to have to kill me, which is much more personal than I'm going to blow up every bank, by destroying their computers or something like that. And that, I think, the way that the last time you see Ben Kingsley, he opens up the answering machine, he sees it's blank, and the wind blows on him, and the spotlight hits, and he closes his eyes. That's it. It's the only time we see him because he's not even real.
Well, I think it's because we were living in a time in 1992 before everything had to be, ironic, and sarcastic, and we could have a movie like that now. If a movie like this came out now, I think a lot of people would kind of eat up the ending. Not I shouldn't say eat up, tear up the ending. Just as far as saying that this movie, too simplistic of an ending, too neat, too
earnest.
Everything, yes,
Too earnest.
yeah. I mean, that's what we saw with the Superman movie.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was like, "Oh, it's they're not ready for unironic goodness," and I think this movie had unironic goodness in it.
Yeah.
And I think these people we just live in a society where we're just so blasted in the face with such negativity on a daily basis that it's like when something kind of ends like on a nice note, you're always kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, yeah, but what's really going to happen?
Also about the ending, another thing you couldn't have these days was you're hearing the news correspondent and they say the Republican Party is bankrupt.
Right.
That a studio would take a side.
That's true.
That would never
That's
happen.
true.
I'm not going to watch that stupid woke movie.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Exactly.
That's true. But you could explain it if you were an adult in 1992. You could say, well, of course that's That's what happened.
Of course
That's
they're
what Marty
Democrats.
Bryce
Yeah.
did. That's what Martin Bishop would do. Like, that's what they do. But now it would be read, like you're saying, as, well, the movie says this, so I can't watch it because it's too woke. And you're right. That's such a stupid thing to get in the way of enjoying something.
That's what I was saying. I think we were having this conversation about how, like, think about the show Family Ties. You could have, you're gonna have a MAGA, like you can have two liberal parents with a MAGA son. I mean, you could never have a show like that. It would be too weird.
Oh, I don't know. Now I want to write that show. It's kind of interesting.
It sounds interesting, but I think that it would be too. I don't know who's gonna do that for you. You know what I mean? Who's gonna put that out there? Who's gonna stream that for you? You know, I don't know.
Isn't there an animated series with that?
Maybe
where like the child or the is a what am I thinking of?
There could be. What'll happen is we'll look it up after this, and I'll go, oh yeah, it's title of show. And we'll be fine. We'll be all set. We'll be all set. No, you're right. But that's because everything is so extreme, and this is not an extreme movie. There are characters who want to do extreme things. That's the other thing. We talk about it. It's a heist movie, but it's not really a heist movie, et cetera, et cetera. It's a Mission Impossible movie. It's not that kind of action movie, whatever. There's some really fun stuff, like the whole idea when he breaks into Ben Kingsley's office that it has to be 98.6 degrees. He can only move 2 inches a second or less because of these state-of-the-art, top-of-the-line sensors. It's just so fun.
Martin, you have to hurry up.
Because that's the one thing I can't do. Yeah, it's just great.
That whole scene, there are just so many meanwhiles. This is happening. Meanwhile, this is happening. Meanwhile, that's happening. And the editing of that, the pacing of that whole sequence is incredible.
Well, that's another thing in movies that they do at some climactic moment. Like, I remember they had a big battle on, they had a lightsaber fight on the Death Star while they were fighting on Endor, while there was a space battle outside. And this has all these things happening at once, but it's like I'm breaking into an office in the most high-tech, low-speed way. And this guy figured out his date is part of it. And this guy's like, well, we got to figure out what's going on in my office and all this kind of stuff. And that's a great observation too. I love it.
They told I heard that Steve Tobolowsky? Is that how you say his last
Steven
name?
Tobolowsky.
Yeah, apparently he said
good job, by the way.
Yeah, he said that. Thank you for my
Ned?
Anyway.
Ned Ryerson?
We went to the same synagogue in LA.
Did you really?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He
went to
He
synagogue.
seems like a nice guy.
Very nice guy.
You went to
God, I was going to say, hopefully I was like, please
Yes.
tell me he's a nice guy because
No.
he seems like he'd be a nice guy.
There were always a million people around him wanting
I'm sure.
to talk his ear off.
But
I'll
he said this is apparently the most fun he's ever had on a shoot, and that the whole scene when he was at dinner, that dinner scene where she's trying to get him to say the words, like they told him to just go wild, like to totally improvise, to say whatever you want, try to make her laugh, do whatever. And I said, imagine that must have been such a great experience. And apparently it was like they were singing happy birthday to people even when it wasn't their birthday, like on the set. It was like, it sounds like it was such a great experience. And I think it really, I feel like you can kind of tell. Maybe I'm retroactively thinking that because I read that and then I go, it seems like it was the people just seem like everybody sort of seems at like when I say at the top of their game, I don't know if that's the exact phrasing I want to use, but everybody seemed like, and this sounds really like, everybody seemed like they were doing a really good job and they were happy, but it does kind of come across that way.
That's a real thing. My wife likes to tease me because I'll watch something that I really like and I'll be like, I think everybody was having a good time. And the reason that I think of that is because when I believe that that's true, but when I worked out in the movie industry almost 30 years ago, I kept hearing from people, more than one person on more than one production, if the set is happy, if we're all getting along and everybody's good, this movie's going to suck. And if we're having a fight and it's really everybody's mad, then it's going to be great. And I was like, that doesn't make sense to me, especially because film is, what's more collaborative than film? I mean, in our last episode that you did a week ago before you came back, we talked about how many people work on one part of the process. I don't think you gave us the impression in our conversation that this work that I'm really proud of is because everybody was a dick.
No,
that's not how you get good work.
No, maybe this is an example of how good leadership breeds great work,
and about a team where they feel like real people. They don't agree all the time. They keep rolling their eyes at Dan Aykroyd's, conspiracy theories and stuff. But when it comes down to it, they look out for each other, and they have the goal, which is to do the best they can, whether it's making a trailer or saving the world's economy or whatever. So,
yeah, it's probably. I imagine that their chemistry between the men on the team can come out, or even with Mary McDonnell. Their chemistry can authentically come out because they all felt safe with one another.
Yeah, that's a great observation too, because they're gonna give it. I think this year's the first year they're gonna do an Oscar for casting.
I heard there was discussion about that. I didn't know if that had actually
I don't know if
gone through.
I don't know if it's this year or next year, but like this is one of those movies where it's like, oh, this would have been why you would do that. The same way, like I still can't believe there isn't an Oscar for stunts. I mean, just this year, the Mission Impossible.
Funny, I was thinking the same thing.
One battle after another. But I remember when
isn't that happening though? I think that is.
Well, they've said that for years. Like you could give one to every John Wick movie for Christ's sake. But I remember thinking, because it's been talked about for years. I remember thinking, if you don't have that Oscar and give it to Mad Max Fury Road, they're never going to do it. Because these movies, it's just incredible the way that they, the work that they do, but it's also the design. Like people have to sit down and figure out what is this going to be in the story, and then figure out how are we going to do it, and then the most important thing, not kill anybody. So it's another part of making the movies. That's incredible teamwork and thoughtfulness and creativity and all this kind of stuff. But this movie, just the casting alone. We've talked specifically about the casting, the editing, the directing, the acting. I mean, you don't think about any of it when you're watching it. If you haven't seen this movie out there in the listener world, I think you will just really, really enjoy it because it's a good movie, and that's why it's a good movie.
Amen. And I think it totally holds up.
Oh,
if you can overlook some of the NSA, FBI, CIA stuff, which probably doesn't hold up, but it's a great movie.
Yeah, I think it's good. Anybody else have anything to add, or are we ready to?
Well, I will thank you, John, for bringing this movie.
Thank you very much.
I've always loved this movie. I was really excited to be able to discuss it, and I really appreciate your perspective with your actual career in the business, making creative work that you want to be as satisfying as this movie is, and I know that you've done that, and more than once. And so I was surprised that you mentioned this movie, just because who knows this movie? I guess it's kind of a cult classic for some people, but it's also a big studio movie, so it doesn't really have that history.
Yeah.
But when you recommended that, I was like, oh, I think that might be the right one, and then we agreed that it was. So thank you very much for choosing.
You're very welcome, and thank you both for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Our pleasure.
Oh, thank you very
much like Chick-fil-A, it's our pleasure. It's Sunday. We wouldn't be open today.
Not today.
So we're not like Chick-fil-A. Well, then I guess that's a wrap.
I think you mean it's Thursday.
What?
It's Thursday.
Oh, it's Thursday. I'm sorry. Sorry. I broke the illusion. It's Thursday, so we are open as Chick-fil-A.
That's right.
Anyway. Well, I guess that's a wrap on Sneakers. And we'll be back next week when we start an underground boxing club for schizophrenics.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, follow our Instagram page at StoryPunkPod for more Storypunk updates and find out when the next episode drops, which will be, spoiler alert, on Thursdays. And check out our Facebook page for you boomers out there. I'm sorry if I offended you in this episode.
There's a lot of boomer in this movie, so it's totally appropriate.
Sure. It's
a dad movie. Boomers are dads too.
Sure. And I have updates there. I can. Facebook's a little bit easier to post movie related links, and
that's what we call inside baseball.
Well, that's not inside baseball. It's just facts. If that's too technical, then
it's more the inside machinations of how we make the Storypunk sausage. So it's exciting.
If I guess. Well, look, if telling you that I can put links on the Facebook page is too much.
Stop telling our secrets.
I know. Anyway, and also I'm on Letterboxd I'm a Storypunk Scott on Letterboxd.
And I am Solid Gould, and John perhaps will be intrigued enough to make a Letterboxd account.
I will be. I will do it.
Yeah, check it out. It's pretty cool.
I will follow you. I
pretty
commit
cool.
to that.
Yes,
right
we will both follow you as now that you are an official friend of Storypunk, and you will be getting your badge in the mail.
Yes, and
flattered.
you are always welcome. Thank you so much
Yes,
for coming.
thank you very much. We
So
do
welcome.
appreciate that. And as always, remember that story matters.